Hello and welcome to another edition of Iron Port, the program that has been designed to bring Ghana's ports and maritime industry closer to you. It is proudly brought to you by Ghana Revenue Authority, Goyle PLC Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Meridian Port Services, and Phoenix Insurance. Iron Port is powered by Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and our media partner is the Business and Financial Times. Viewers, as an obligation advanced by the International Maritime Organization, all seagoing vessels are to avoid the pollution of the marine environment by keeping all waste generated and discharging them appropriately at shore. Ports, on the other hand, are to provide adequate reception facilities that will handle these waste. On this week's edition of Iron Port, we delved deep into this particular activity at Ghana's ports, the challenges and opportunities for advancement. Please watch this story, which will follow with a studio discussion. Port reception facilities are a key component of the environmental management program at Ghana's ports. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, in complying with the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, also known as MARPOL, has licensed private sector operators to collect ship-sourced waste at the country's ports. To properly fulfill this mandate and keep abreast with global best practices, the authority and the various port reception facilities undergo regular continuous training. Earlier in the week, one of such meetings was held to upgrade the skills and know-how of the parties involved in waste reception at the country's ports. Facilitated by the Port Environmental Network Africa, this year's training program builds on previous meetings intended to enhance cooperation among operators and regulators and tackle operational challenges. This year's program had participation from officials from the port authorities of Cape Verde, Congo, and the Gambia, who came to learn from Ghana's model. The executive coordinator for PENAF, Dr. Harry Barnes Daban, provided more details about the significance of the program.
The whole idea for this meeting was to get them to understand the need to cooperate and work together, set a goal. So help them to now move towards forming an association, define their goals and objectives, and then work out the rules and regulations and how to achieve what they intend to achieve. That will also enhance their operation and performance. Beyond that, PENAF also looked at regional cooperation, so getting other ports in West and Central Africa, but also Africa, to begin to work together to standardize how ports reception facilities are operationalized, because we had seen that there were vast differences, divergences among the ports.
The Estate and Environment Manager at the Port of Takoradi, David Helm, added on to that.
Facility services is a very important sector. Port management, it's actually an obligation that port authorities are supposed to perform. It's an obligatory service. The purpose is to manage ship-related waste to avoid dumping in the sea. And it's very critical because of the issue of sustainable development. Environmental management is becoming more important in corporate governance. And as a port authority, we take this service as a very important one.
Participants from the other countries expressed their satisfaction with the program.
So I came here to know more about the MARPOL. So I came because I know Ghana, the organization of Ghana is better than in Congo. So I want to know more because we have started with this waste challenge, how to take care of the waste at our port. So we want to improve the way we are doing things.
If you can give us a sense of the kind of importance that the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority attaches, to fulfilling the requirements of MARPOL 73-78.
As a member state, we are expected to comply with the conventions that emanate from IMO.
Right.
And MARPOL 7378 is one of such conventions. That convention seeks to protect the marine environment.
Yes.
And GPHA attaches serious importance to the fulfillment of its requirements. And that's the reason why we have the waste reception facilities in our ports, both in Tema and Takoradi. Secondly, we are certified to ISO.
Yes.
there is EMS, QMS, and the OSHAs. When you look at these three standards, they have sustainability running through them. Like sustainability is core to their operations or requirements.
Yes.
So the MARPOL 7378, which is also a sustainability initiative, is something that falls in line with what we are doing with ISO. So we place much importance to
much premium. All right. So seeding the activities of port waste reception to private sector may present some benefits. Can you enumerate some of these benefits that we are perhaps getting from these operators?
So port operation itself is a very complex and expensive venture. This seeding of the PRF activities to the private sector has benefited us in so many ways.
Right.
One that comes to mind is it helps us focus on our core business as a port authority.
Right.
The other two has to do with the idea that the private sector brings on board high level of efficiency. Then there is the issue of royalties that we get from the PRFs when they operate and make revenue. A portion of their revenue comes to us as royalties, and that is one benefit that we enjoy. Then the other one I can talk about is that we've now ceded the operation and capital costs in the PRF operations to the private sector. That frees us a little bit.
Right. Tell us, how are you able to ensure that the responsibilities you have entrusted into the PRFs as the port reception facilities that you have appointed to manage, the ports, are able to do the work the way you want them to do it? Because you mentioned in your earlier submission or the fact that we are ISO certified and we must do everything, premised on standards, international standards, so to speak. So tell us, how are you able to ensure that they do the work,
thank you for the
that
question.
is expected
So
of them?
what we normally do is that we sign a concession agreement with them. These concession agreements comes with expected deliverables.
Right.
The deliverables are normally in line with what the IMO requires of us with regard to building and operating a reception facility.
Right.
So the authority tracks these deliverables over the concession term to ensure that there's compliance.
Right.
And secondly, we collaborate with GMA to inspect the facilities to assess their adequacies. Whenever there is an infraction or shortfall during the inspection, we quickly inform the PRFs to start working on them, to correct them and take corrective measures.
Yes.
Then lastly, we also check on these facilities to ensure that they keep a valid EPA permit and fire certificates at all times. That's one way to ensure that there is safety protocols being observed and environmental regulations being observed.
Right. In terms of port reception facilities and how they operate, are we able to bring us up to speed with how the best practices in terms of how they operate? And if we can take a look at a few examples and perhaps, zero in on Africa. You've just told us in Ghana what the situation is like. Yeah.
The difference between Africa and the advanced world maybe is the adequate knowledge that the West has regarding the international convention itself. And then also, of course, they have access to capital, so they have infrastructure with high technology. And then also, they have regulations that guide their operations. And there is the mechanisms for monitoring, for enforcement, for compliance. And that is there. And then there are incentives also for them to be creative and innovative. So much as Africa may not have gotten there, we are also not that bad yet. What happens is that different countries are doing it in different ways. Some countries in the sub-region do not really have formal reception facilities as you can find in Ghana, as you can find in Nigeria, for example. They don't really have it. But they have some kind of collectors who receive these wastes. But the challenge there is who monitors this kind of waste that they collect. Because even for the countries that have systems in place that collect, the challenge is even with management, documentation, being able to verify what kind of waste is being collected. These challenges are there for those who have physical facilities and have gotten the permits to operate in the way they have to. So you can imagine those ones that is being left in the hands of small collectors.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we are trying to seek to rally people around, to create that awareness that we need to institutionalize a kind of formal approach so
Right.
that you can have a track and trace of whatever wastes that the ships have discharged,
Right.
and then also to their final disposal. And then we
Right.
can trace along that line. So, and then also the challenge of fragmentation.
Right.
So you have policies that stand on their own, that are not really coherent with relative conventions that, like you pick MARPOL, for example, it still also has to connect with the Rotterdam Convention on Chemicals.
Right.
It has to do with Basel Convention on Transboundary Movement of Waste. But do we have regulations that are able to coherently get these to work together?
Right.
And that's a challenge. So that is where you can see the difference between the advanced countries. These are properly coherent. Even then, there can still be challenges, but you can see that regulations pick all these relative conventions and practices together. The Convention on Biological, for example, they're all looked at and taken into consideration. But we seem to have isolated policies.
Right.
And if they get together, it could be better. And then also the issue of the lack of interagency collaboration.
Right.
That's also one of the issues. But also lack of collaboration among the operators themselves. They are more than competing than co-opting.
Right.
We want to push co-opting. So if you are co-opting, you know we all have the same thing, but we are not competing to overtake the other, but we are competing to become good.
Absolutely.
So that we don't lower the threshold
Right.
and then make it business as usual.
Right.
So these are some of the things that hampers are being different from the advanced countries. But we're getting there. Like I gave these examples of what you can already find in Douala, for example,
Right.
what you can find already in Ghana, for example. And in Nigeria, there's a fantastic facility.
Yeah.
In Ghana, Zeal in Takoradi has a huge facility, technologically advanced, that it is not even only treating waste from Ghana,
Right.
but also waste from other countries within the sub-region as well. Not even the sub-region alone, but other parts of South and Eastern Africa.
Right.
And so there is goodness. But if
Awesome.
we can work together and synergize, then we will be able to fulfill. So what one cannot do, the other can do better, and then we build on the economics of our strengths.
Awesome. I have a pregnant question for you. There are 3 questions. One, some of the challenges, operational challenges you encounter as port reception facilities. 2, in terms of regulations, what are some of the, and licensing, what are some of the challenges you encounter? And 3, do you buy into the idea for the formation of an association, that's of port reception facilities, so you can be effective and have one voice? Quickly, and then we move, we say goodbye to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. With respect to challenges, from where I speak from as port reception facility at the Takoradi port, I will not say maybe we have some major significant challenge in terms of our operations. Yeah, so the only challenge I may mention, or I may say, is the notification in terms of we being notified whenever we need to come and pick waste. Sometimes we get late notification. But as I speak, we are able to mitigate around these challenges, but it's just one of the challenges that we used to encounter. But like I said, we have our base at the port.
Yeah.
So whichever time that we are being called upon, we are able to handle that. Another challenge that I will also make mention is the huge cost of equipment that we have been investing in.
Yes.
You know, like you mentioned, we are one of the companies which has, a very effective and standard equipment within the system. So this comes with a lot of cost and investments. So importing some of this equipment from outside comes at a great cost. So one challenge that we face from some of this is in terms of getting duty-free from some of the equipment that we import into the country. So we are hoping that maybe we will have an assistance in terms of we getting help in having a duty-free on our equipment that what we bring into the country. Yeah, so these are some of the challenges that I may pinpoint at the moment.
Right.
Aside that, every other thing should be fine.
It's
in
okay.
terms of the association,
Yes.
I don't have any problem in forming an association. I think it's a very good thing. It will make us have a very strong voice to be able to communicate our values and objectives, and also, like I just mentioned earlier on, in terms of we having a duty-free on our equipment. having an association will also help us to foster a strong unity, such that our voice can be so heavy to the government and also the relevant authority to be able to assist us, and many other challenges that we may come across as well. If we have an association, we'll be able to jointly and collectively have them resolved. Yeah.
So you just heard from Dr. Harry Bands Durban, the Executive Coordinator for Port Environment Network Africa PENAF, as well as Lonsdale Oklu, a Senior Estate and Environment Officer at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and Abdul Ganyu, General Manager at Zeal Environmental Technologies Limited, who helped us appreciate the work of port reception facilities in Ghana. Now let us hear from you on comments that you shared with us after we go on break, and then we'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Hello, Iron Port. My name is Ahmad in Takoradi. I work around the port. I can confirm everything the man from Zeal said. They are truly a leader in waste management in Ghana, and they should be given more to do. Hi, I am Rachel from Nungua. Can Dr. Bands Durban speak more on the role of customs in all of this? I was surprised to hear about them.
Things that you are not the only person to have asked this, because the question then comes, what has customs got to do with port reception facilities? I mean, customs are responsible for anything that is dutiable, any import, export going through the port. It's a rule of customs, so it does not matter what it is. But then it is what the regulations says that will then determine how a particular item is treated. So in the books of customs, waste is dutiable. So how then do you define waste? Is the question, the contention here.
Right.
So in working with them, it has now been understood that for oily waste and garbage that is coming from the ships as it has been generated, they are not meant for business in country. So what the customs is doing now is that when these waste arrive, of course, the notification, everything goes through the desk of customs.
Right.
And then customs, the officer responsible, will then assign somebody from customs to accompany the waste that has been discharged in the port to the facility where it has to be treated.
Right.
And then it is handled there.
My name is Michael from Tema. I am eager to know what happens after the waste is taken from ships. How do you handle the waste on land? Do they go to our landfill sites in Pune?
With the ship waste, what happens is that at the port, the reception facilities pick them up.
Right.
If it is garbage, they do the sorting. The ones that are recyclable are recycled.
Right.
The one that are biodegradable goes to the landfill site.
Right.
If it is sewage, the PRFs have developed biodigesters where they empty them into them for treatment. Then when it is oily waste, they have their oily waste separators installed in their premises where they do the separation of the sludge and take the water off and use the oil for other purposes.
Right.
Ohima, what will you take your number first? By you. You have to say take your number, give me.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I come.
Shut up!
Mame, feel me talking about what? Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Goyle is good energy. Electricity. Then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome back, viewers. Now let us pick a few other local news from our port and maritime sector. As the world marked International Women's Day last Friday, female employees at the port of Takoradi underwent a mentorship session with seasoned maritime professional Esther Gyebi-Donkor, who is currently the general manager in charge of marketing and corporate affairs at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. The mentorship session was to give aspiring female professionals the opportunity to have a closer interaction with the accomplished woman whose expertise cover port operations and management, corporate affairs, marketing and communications. The director of Port Takoradi, Peter Amubediakon, who graced the occasion, had some vital advice for the gathering.
When you become a person of value, you recognize the purpose for which GPHA was created and the dynamics in which you have been brought in to fit and recognize your role. You will become a person of value to be recognized by the system and you will rise up. But when we accept mediocrity as the norm, it is about recognizing that we need to transform our minds.
Madam Esther provided insight into some of the choices that contributed to her 30-year successful career. She urged workers to endure career setbacks and imbibe the spirit of perseverance in their work.
It's not easy, but don't be down because that thing happened to you during the career process. So that some people will take it to heart to the extent that they cannot overcome. And so they begin to put up lackadaisical attitude towards work. I've not been promoted for so many years. This one came yesterday, he's been promoted. So me, if when it's 5 o'clock, I've closed. When is this, I will come at 8. And the boss gives you work, you don't even want to do it because you are hurt. And you are down. No. You need to overcome that pain and then continue to work hard.
She also advised her mentees to take up opportunities to continuously upgrade themselves academically as well as learning on the job.
The industry we are working in is very dynamic. It's changing, things are changing. So if you came in with a first degree, probably in economics, you cannot stay there forever. You need to do something about the industry. Is it port management? Is it safety? Is it security? Is it what? You need to better yourself as you move on.
The mentorship program was under the auspices of the Ghana chapter of the Network of Professional Women in Maritime and Port Sectors of West and Central Africa. The president of the association, who doubles as the Marketing and Public Affairs Manager at the Port of Tema, Abna Sewo Pokufosu, urged women to abreast themselves with trends in the maritime industry.
Follow what is happening in the industry. Don't say because you are not in operations, you are not in marketing, but you need to know. You need to know what is happening in other ports. And then you also need to know how we are doing at a port. So that as an authority, so if somebody elsewhere is saying something contrary, you can debunk it.
The director of Port presented a plaque to the accomplished maritime professional for her dedication and commitment to the industry. Let us now turn our attention to the global front to have a look at what is happening there.
Ahead of the key global events that will decide the pace of shipping's decarbonization, Vincent Clerc, CEO of Danish shipping and logistics giant AP Moller Maersk, has highlighted 3 imperatives that will be crucial if the maritime industry wants to meet ambitious emission reduction targets. Firstly, he says there is the need to close the price gap between green and fossil fuels with a financial mechanism effectively leveling out the price difference between green and fossil fuels and rewarding the right fuel choices. Secondly, he says there is the need to ensure a well-to-wake approach that is science-based and results in genuine emission reduction. Finally, he says there is the need to ensure this green transition is just and supports developing countries. A number of these countries, provided that investment and funding is geared in their direction, could become the world's new green bunkering hubs. The United States Department of Transportation's Maritime Administration has published a notice of funding opportunity, making $450 million available for Port Infrastructure Development Program. The investments made under the Port Infrastructure Development Program will focus on modernizing U.S. coastal and inland waterway ports, as well as strengthening the supply chains and economic security. The Biden-Harris administration's bipartisan infrastructure law provides $450 million annually in funding for the program from fiscal year 2022 until fiscal year 2026.
Now to our Word of the Day segment, where we introduce words, phrases, jargons, terminologies and abbreviations that we often use in this industry so you can get familiar with them. We will tell you what we mean by shipment window.
Shipment window refers to a date range set by the buyer, during which time the supplier must ship the cargo. The buyer decides on the days based on when he will need the stock.
Let us now take a look at the schedule of vessels that have berth in the ports of Tema and Takoradi and at the anchorages of both ports, as well as those expected in the coming weeks, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rates, which you may need to know to clear your cargo with. This is where we close today's edition of Iron Pot. We hope you've been informed and educated. Remember, all Iron Pot content can be found on our YouTube channel, Iron Pot. Make sure to subscribe, share, and like our videos. Thank you for watching.